I'm Marja, and I work here at the Defiance Public Library System in the Children's Department. I'd like to share with you some of the new juvenile picture book titles which are now available to you with your library card. This month, I want to start by sharing this title, Please Don't Read This Book, written by Deanna Kajis, illustrated by Sam Boughton, and published by Philomel Books. Kids don't like to have fun, right? So don't read this book. I mean, if you're going to read it, there are rules to reading it. The rules are clearly expressed in the pages of this book. Make sure to follow them or you may have way too much fun. I mean, for sure, don't be making any strange noises or faces while reading it. Those are book rules. And if you choose to disobey the other rules in the book, the library cannot be held responsible for the fun you may end up experiencing. The pet featured in this next title feels that paying attention to him should definitely be a rule to reading any book. Rectangle Time, written by Pamela Paul, illustrated by Becky Cameron, and published by Philomel Books. In this story, an audacious cat refers to the time a young boy and his father used to share stories as rectangle time. The cat observes a young boy and his father enjoying a rectangle together every night, and decides he is an essential part of this daily routine. As the boy gets older, he starts to enjoy these rectangles by himself. Eventually, the rectangles become smaller and smaller. Nevertheless, the cat is determined to make himself a part of this ritual. He is, after all, the most important piece to rectangle time. Since I featured a title with a cat in it, I figured it's only fair to feature one with a dog as well. Puppy in My Head, written and illustrated by Elise Gravel and published by Harper, is not about a real dog though, but rather how the thoughts in your head can sometimes act like a puppy. Sometimes the puppy is quiet. Sometimes the puppy is excited or scared or just has too much energy. When that happens, we need to help the puppy find a way to calm down through breathing practices, peaceful thoughts, and other activities. This story is a sweet allegory to the anxiety we all sometimes feel and need to quiet. Needing to quiet your brain is one thing, but what if you want to be loud? I Don't Want to Be Quiet, written and illustrated by Laura Ellen Anderson, published by Philomel Books, is about a little girl who likes to make noise and commotion. Follow her through this story as she wakes her baby brother, stomps, thumps, drums, hums, clangs, pops, crunches, splashes, slurps, burps, sings, roars, and claps until she visits the library. There, the other kids ask her to be quiet so they can read. So she reluctantly picks up a book and finds it delightful. She may be quiet on the outside while reading, but her mind is full of noise and the action of the books she chooses to read. Then she finds herself quietly listening in class, learning math, poetry, and history. She finally decides she likes being quiet. When she's quiet, she can hear and discover new things. By the end of the story, she realizes she likes both quiet and loud activities, and that there are different times for both. Another story, in which the main character has an experience which changes his mind, is Mr. Complain Takes the Train, written by Wade Bradford, illustrated by S. Britt, and published by Clarion Books. As the title suggests, Mr. Complain decides to take a train ride. He is taking a vacation to Dullsville. The train is filled with numerous animals and experiences which he does not like. Mr. Complain exclaims to the train attendant that the train is too happy, or too sad, or too dark, or too bright, or too uncomfortable, and a number of other complaints. Until, near the end of the train ride, they reach a roller coaster with a loop-de-loop. Here, mid-loop, Mr. Complain declares he is going to say something he has never said before, and then shouts out, "Yahoo!" You guessed it, Mr. Complain decides the train is fun and remains on the train instead of getting off at his Dullsville vacation destination. Speaking of traveling, have you ever felt stuck in a crowded car with your siblings? Squish Squash Squished, written by Rebecca Kraft Rector, illustrated by Dana Wolfcotty, and published by Nancy Paulson Books, is just such a story. Two siblings do nothing but fight about space in the back seat of the car. But their clever mother finds a way to help them realize they have plenty of space when it's just the two of them. While driving to town, she notices neighbors needing a ride and offers to drive them. First, it's the pigs who hop in. Next, the ducks waddle aboard. Then it's the puppies who come along for the ride. By this time, the kids are feeling very uncomfortable. One would say squished. By now, the kids have learned to stop complaining, and soon each neighbor gets dropped off at a destination, leaving the car with plenty of room for the two siblings. You could say this story is a lesson in learning to appreciate what you have. Here's another story with a different idea about being crowded with your siblings. Rabbit, Rabbit, Rabbit. Written and illustrated by Lorna Scobie and published by Henry Holt and Company. Rabbit is an only child. Until he isn't. Then his parents begin having more and more and more children. Rabbit does not like this. It is too crowded. Rabbit has to do something to solve this problem. Then Rabbit remembers he met Fox, who seemed very eager to invite lots of rabbits into his home. So Rabbit asks Fox if he could look after all his siblings. Fox is delighted to help and asks them all into his home. Rabbit feels wonderful to be by himself again. At first. Then Fox notices Rabbit may be feeling lonely and invites Rabbit to join his siblings. He does and finds a fantastic party going on. By the end, it is apparent that being surrounded by many, while crowded, can also be a good thing.
Those are the highlights for juvenile picture books this month. I promise you, there are many, many more new titles that we have at the Defiance Public Library System that I didn't mention here. So if none of these sound interesting to you, check out our website at www.defiancelibrary.org or visit us soon and let us help you find something that does.